This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. Wow, when I first started this podcast way back in 2017, I could only hope that I'd have Donald and John Tardy on the show for your listening pleasure, and here they finally are. The catalyst for the chat with the extreme metal legends is due to a tour by Obituary across Australia in January 2024. If you're a local, check gig guides, but I'll make it a bit easier too and put some dates and a link to tickets in the episode description. Now, throughout this conversation here, the gents reflect on their journey with Obituary, their relationship with Trevor Perez, who has been on the show before, and the largely hidden these days, unfortunately, Alan West. Bullituary, we get the lowdown on what was going on there with that rap extreme metal mashup. Frozen in Time, we have a bit of a chat about that. The great Ralph Santolla. Frank, no, we don't talk about Frank, we talk about Terry Butler, and we do discuss whether or not Steve DiGiorgio, that is, was asked to be part of the band. I wish I had way more time because I wanted to go into Andrew WK territory with Don. I do ask if they had plans or designs on releasing a biography, so you'll have to hear what they have to say about that. But look, otherwise, yeah, not enough time to talk about all the things I'd love to discuss, but that just means that round two will be just as good or even better than the first. So here it is, a conversation with John and Donald Tardy from Obituary. John, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Exemplary timing, sir.
All right. Well, with a last name like Tardy, I cannot be late. Donald was supposed to be over here at the studio today, and we're going to do it together, but I'm not sure. Does it let more than one person come in?
Absolutely, yeah. I've just admitted him into the chat now.
He should be hopping in there, I would think.
Yeah, I just let him in now, so he'll see it in the moment. There he is. Can you see him?
All right, man. So
what's up, Andrew?
Hey guys, this is
man.
I'm thrilled to be able to do this, guys. I've been an Obituary fan for decades now. It's just a quick story. My wife, who is decidedly not a metal fan, as a lot of the women aren't, as you can appreciate. I remember I was living in a unit in the valley near the city, and I took her back to my place. This is one of the first times we actually, hooked up or what have you. And YouTube, this is 2007, so YouTube was in its infancy, but I thought, I'm going to show her some of my music because she was listening to Ludacris and all this hip-hop shit and all the rest of it. And the first song I ever showed her was I Don't Care. And she thought I was joking. She said, what, you listen to this music? I said, yeah, I do. But I've got to tell you, over a period of time, I won her over, I think, to the point where she'd actually tolerate Obituary and Death and Morbid Angel and all my favourite bands being played in the background against Neo and, all of that sort of stuff. I don't even know the name of those guys, to be honest with you, but she
awesome.
She certainly got an education early on, so there you go.
All right, nice.
How's the Zoomers been going in preparation for the tour?
Good, man. They've been
Go ahead, D.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just gearing up for this now. We've been home for quite a few months since the European run, the UK run. So it's been kind of quiet. It's been nice to be quiet. We kind of got away to just relax a little bit, recharge, and now the interviews are starting, and we can tell that the Aussies and New Zealand, you guys are ready for us, and we're excited about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw you guys when you last came down just before the pandemic. You were one of the last bands. You guys and Corrosion of Conformity, I think, were the last two bands to come through town before the gates came crashing down. And I got to say, I don't know whether you remember the gig in Brisbane, but it was packed out. It was a sold-out gig. I'm sure Dicey mentioned something about that. And you put on such a magnificent show. So you've got this staying power, haven't you, where it's not about age, but just all of that experience that you've got on stages, man, it just comes through in spades at the moment.
Well, I mean, I also think it just shows when you're still having fun doing something, that makes all the difference in the world. If you're just up there going through the motions, and it's easy to get through, especially long tours and whatever. It's easy just to kind of go through the motions. But when you're having fun and you're still having fun each and every night, it makes your life easy and fun. So I think that's what kind of shows through, just knowing we're still enjoying what we do.
You've been having fun for a long time, though. So, I've been wanting to ask you this question for quite a while now. So I mean, you guys have been around longer than almost anybody. You really are. I mean, there's a foundation stone, and you guys have your names written into it, both of you. So, what were your thoughts about pursuing a career or the longevity of the career that you've enjoyed back in 1985 when you first started on the Metal Up Your Ass demo? Was it even a possibility?
I don't think that any of us thought about doing the first record. It's a little bit strange to think about. We were so happy getting off the school bus and me, Donald, and Trevor meeting in the garage and just jamming until my mom would open the door and say, "Trevor, go home," and done. And we were so really satisfied with just doing that when the album kind of came to us, because it kind of came to us more than we tried to pursue doing a record. I think it caught us all a little bit off guard. We never really expected to do it, and we certainly would have no idea what it meant to go on tour and do anything, which is why for Slowly Rot, we really never did anything. But so for it to last this long, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. Don, what are your thoughts?
Pretty much the same thing, man. We're the main thing is, I think, is we're really fortunate that we can do this, but to have my brother in the band with me is huge. And I think it makes it much easier than probably a lot of bands experience.
Of course it
does. business partners and brothers and friends, we're lucky. It's a trifecta, and we're fortunate. We're fortunate to be able to do it.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. And you've already mentioned Trevor. So that's a triumvirate right there. So the musicians have come and gone, but you three have always remained in partnership, in union. Okay, so what do you think the key elements in your relationship are that have contributed to that essential unity to keeping things going for so long?
I think John said it, man, is that we're having fun. When you're having fun, it doesn't feel like work. It's not really a job. It's just, we're lucky. We're fortunate. We're super lucky that we could do this. And we've been doing it for so long. I think it's all I know how. It's probably one of the only things, very few things that I know how to do very well. And that's, live on the road, put tours together, put albums together, put songs together, and perform live. Other than that, I don't know what else I would be doing with myself.
It's been nice. It's been a long time, and I think, there's been a couple of times in our career that, like before Back from the Dead, we took 5-6 years off. Before Frozen in Time, there was, 4 or 5 years off, and we took a couple of those breaks away from things and got away from each other and did some other things. But it just always just kind of naturally comes back and just gets us back into where we really enjoy being. So, we're not just a band that feels like we have to do an album every year, every other year, or we don't feel like we have to go out and just do everything all the time. And I think there's a difference between wanting to and having to do something. And we just, like I said, we've been so fortunate in our career that it seems like the offers that we're getting and the tours that we get to get on nowadays are bigger than what we've ever done before, and it's really nice not have to fight the system. It's not have to fight, to try to get something, real hard to do something. And it's just, it makes things a lot easy. And I think it just makes it easy to kind of continue to do what we do. Yeah.
Look, another essential part of the sound, at least early on until the mid part of the band's career, is Alan West. Now, he's a highly talented guitarist. We know that, and there's a lot of goodwill out there toward him from the fans, yet we all know he's facing some very serious personal challenges, as he has done for the last decade and beyond. Can you, apart from that, though, can you delve into some of the core issues that led to some of the separation and some of the difficulties with Alan?
Yeah, Alan was his own speed bump. He was his own enemy. He just made stupid choices and just couldn't keep it together. It doesn't, I'm thinking, I'm sure it's been long documented when with everything that happened with Alan and us, and for God's sakes, my brother and myself and Trevor, we tried our best to keep him on track and to sit him down and say, dude, isn't this important? I mean, isn't this why we do what we do? Is we're finally making headway here. We're finally ready to get rolling on the road and become a band and become a powerful thing here. And he just steered one direction while we were headed straight forward to trying to stay successful and stay organized and stay professional.
Yeah. Are you still in touch with him in any way?
We're not. We've reached out over the years. Like you said, it's been decade. It's been 15 years probably. And over the years, one of us, all of us, we all tried to reach out to him and find him. And he just, he knows where we live, for God's sakes. John's house has been the studio for going on 25 years. So, unfortunately we're not in touch with Big Al anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah. Bullituary. Okay, that's your collaboration with DJs Diablo D and T Skinner. Look, I've got to say, to be honest with you, it took me by surprise too, but it works really well. Okay, the Back from the Dead album, right on the end of the CD, it was, I remember, and of course, it's it marks a departure from your typical style in some ways, but you still had all the key elements of your sound. It's not like you turned into Limp Bizkit or anything. The question for you, and in amongst of that, was that an experimental thing for fun, a one-time endeavor, or did it actually hint at a possible direction of a band you were thinking of taking, the Obituary, at the time?
I mean, that was just totally by chance. Frank Watkins knew those guys, and they just came down. We happened to be recording down in Miami at Criteria, and they just came by to hang out. We were just hanging out with those two guys, and they were super cool. And we were playing video games and stuff with them and just hanging out. And next thing you know, we're just sitting there recording that part of the song. And those two just huddle up in the corner and they start talking and yakking. And next thing you know, they got pages of lyrics and they just start going off on top of it. And it was not something we planned on doing. But we kind of just fell in love with those two dudes. They were so real with what they did. They absolutely loved it. They were having an absolute blast with it. And to hear the lyrics that they came up with on the fly like that, and just next thing you know, the record light's on and they're just laying down tracks, and it is just a cool thing to witness,
What was fan reaction like, though?
As you can imagine, that's a mixed bag right there. That's totally weird, and I totally get it. People that don't like it, I totally get it. I don't have a problem with it. Hey, maybe your wife likes it though.
You probably knew who those DJs. I'd never heard of them DJs.
You know what? It's the way we go about things, though. We don't write songs to try to, we don't sit down and say, hey, we need to have a rhythm that sounds like this that people are going to like. It's just not the way we do things. We just sit down and we write what we like, and whether it's slow, whether it's fast, or whether it takes us in a different direction. I think that's what's beautiful about the music that we play. It gives us a lot of leeway and a lot of things to do that. And I think that our fans will appreciate us just trying something else, whether it's something like World Demise that goes in a little bit different direction or something. But you kind of got to do something to make yourself grow and challenge yourself.
Yeah, and we put it at the end of the record, which we knew it was going to ruffle some fans' feathers. So we put it at the end of the album. So anyone that wanted to cry about it, we simply said it's at the end of the album. And when the album finishes, if you don't like it, you're free to turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very true. Yep. Frozen in Time, I feel it's one of your strongest albums. An excellent comeback album, I've got to say. I know a lot of fans sort of put it down the bottom or what have you, but it was all there. Alan soloing was very good on it too. That was another thing. But do you, in the benefit of hindsight, it's almost been 20 years, if you can believe it. It's 18 years now. Do you believe that was the right album to release at that particular juncture in your career? And why did you decide to come back?
Yeah, that was one of those albums where we were definitely ready to have new music, and we were a band again finally. Unfortunately, we owed Roadrunner Records one more album. So that one was one of those ones where we had to basically give it away. But it didn't stop us from just writing killer songs and being excited about writing the best songs we possibly could. And that's what we did. And I'm glad to hear that you feel that way about Frozen in Time, because I feel that way as well. I think it's one of our best albums. The songwriting, the production, everything about it really did stick, and super proud of that album.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah. What do you remember about the artwork, the cover art, and coming up with that concept?
Well, God, yeah, Andreas knocked it out of the park with that one, man. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just simply one of those conversations we had with Andreas Marshall. We just said, it's been 6 or 7 years. We've been away. Everyone that has heard these new songs after being away for almost 7 years, they say, you guys haven't changed at all. It's like as if you were frozen in time. And when Andreas knew that was going to be the name of the album, he immediately told us, he said, I got an idea. And once someone like that, a brilliant mind tells you he's got an idea, you just let him roll with it. Me and John were not going to say, well, we need this and we want this, and can you make this color that? That was all him. And we loved it. It was the colors were totally different than death metal that I knew. It was a totally different look than what he's done with Obituary albums. And what a cool piece of art. When you start zooming in and looking at it, I mean, what a really cool piece of art. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That was also the album. That's the one we did with Scott, right? Scott Burns came down to the studio.
Yeah, that was at Mark Prater's studio, and Scott came in and helped us produce it. So that was a fun time for sure for us.
Yeah, it was cool, because we'd been away for a while and we kind of got back together again. So being able to sit down with Scott Burns and Mark Prater in the studio and do that. But one thing's kind of funny, is when we're sitting there and we're recording the songs and we're mixing them and stuff like that. And we told Scott that we're going to start the album off at Redneck Stomp. He's like, you can't do that. You don't sing on that song. And you guys been away for 5 years. You're going to come out with an album. The first song's not going to be any singing. And we were all like, nope, it's got to be first. There's no other way that song's going to go. And, and of course now, it's kind of our anthem, and we like to pretty much start off all our sets with that song to get things going.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of fun. I remember sitting there arguing with Scott, and he goes, you can't start the album off with that song.
Yeah. Record label panicked and said the same thing to us. They were like, you can't do that, man. It's the first song. And we were like, just because you're saying that, I know it's the right thing to do. You guys don't understand the mind of an artist. And think about it. I'm like, close your eyes and think about it. People have been waiting 7 years for Obituary. What do you think of when you think of Obituary? You think of John Tardy's vocals. And then all of a sudden, the album's going to start with this riff. And they're going to be like, wait for it. We knew we were going to do it. There was no question in our mind. We would have took it to court. That's how strongly we felt that it was going to be the first song on the album.
Okay, killer. Yeah. Look, not long after that, of course, Alan left, but then Ralph came in, and I got to know Ralph a little bit, and he had a great sense of humor, and you knew him way better than I ever would. But was he a natural fit for the group, or were there some adjustments to make?
I was waiting for John to reply. It was a natural fit simply because Ralph was a friend of ours, and that we are a band that does not demand anything, and we were not looking specifically for anything. We're comfortable in our skin. Whatever direction we decided to go with, whatever soloist we were going to bring in, we would have been happy with. And Ralph was just a fucking brilliant guitar player that blew myself and my brother away every time he would do something in the studio with a solo. That I loved it. I love the 2 albums he did with us and the Tardy Brothers album that he helped us with. I think it's awesome having Ralph a part of those 2 albums, especially now that Ralph's gone. He was not just a killer musician. He was such a good friend of ours. He was such a kind-hearted guy. Of course, everyone that knew Ralph, he was, again, his own enemy. He had a lot of demons and deep inside that sarcastic mind of his, but he was just such a good-willed guy. The dude would do anything for you, anything in his power anyway. He would do anything for his friends. And he was just a funny, awesome, very clever and talented dude that I'm proud he was part of 2 albums of ours.
Yeah, brilliant albums too. Again, by the way, I got both on vinyl. I enjoy listening to them a lot, actually. It was one of those partnerships where when I heard that he had joined the group, especially after the albums he did with Deicide, I was like, I wonder how this is going to sound, because you guys have a very different dynamic compared to each other. You know, but it works beautifully.
Yeah, and it does. Who knows if it was the perfect match? If we would have gotten someone else, maybe those albums would have came out different, or maybe they would have been better. Maybe they would have been worse. But again, we never looked back. We didn't question it. We didn't think twice about it. We didn't worry about it. We just had a blast with Ralph, and it was fun from the second it started. It was fun with Ralph.
John, go for it. I know you were going to say something a moment ago.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. I would like to think that we'd probably have the same band members as from the first day we started jamming if certain things in life didn't come around. People die, people fly. People go off their own way, and things change. People change, and you got to grow. And we're fortunate that in the pathway of our career here that we got to do those albums with Ralph and got to see him. It was pretty amazing sitting behind the Pro Tools rig with the record button in your hand and hearing him play a solo. And in Pro Tools, you got playlists, so you can just go, okay, new playlist. He'll play the solo again. New playlist. He plays the solo again. And every time it was like, dude, that one was better than the last one. That one was better than the last. And then by the time he's done, you got 6 or 7 playlists. You're like, any one of these would work on this album, and sometimes we even would chop it about halfway through and switch it. But it was pretty fascinating to watch him. He was truly way smarter musically than what we are. We are truly cavemen when it comes down to what we do. And he was a pretty darn talented guitar player for sure.
Yeah. Guys, I'll just do a time check. Dicey's given me 20 minutes. Have we got time for a couple more questions, or have you got to scoot to the next one?
I got another one, but we got a couple more. We can do a couple more questions.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Sweet, thanks, guys. Yeah, look, after Frank left us, God rest his soul, was Terry Butler the immediate choice for the band, or say did Steve, the great Steve DiGiorgio, was he ever? I know he does a lot of different things, but was Steve did you talk to him about maybe becoming a full-time member as well?
Yeah, Terry was the dude. We knew it,
We've known Terry since before we were a band. We knew his sister and him before any of us were in bands together, and then no sooner were we starting the Executioner thing, he was doing the Massacre thing back there. And we've just known him ever since. So I swear it feels like Terry has been in the band forever, just because we've known him forever. And we were lucky enough to do some to do some tours with DiGiorgio. What the coolest guy on the planet right there, but he's also a California person. Wasn't going to work out very easy. I don't really like the whole long distance thing. It's kind of tough. As easy as it is to do that with people, it's not fun when you can't drive over and jam anytime you want, kind of thing. Terry's right down the road. He's just as sarcastic as we are, and it was an easy fit for us.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, look, if there was any aspect of your career as extraordinary as it's been at times and as much as you've achieved, is there any aspect that you'd change or revise?
The performance fee would be a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know what? It might sound cliche, but I wouldn't change anything, man. We've had a blast. It's so much fun knowing we can do what we want to do, and that, like John touched on it earlier, that we pretty much we're getting offers and bigger tours each time that we put the light on that we're accepting tours. And what a great feeling to know that we are more powerful than we've ever been. We're having more fun than we've ever had. And these songs are coming out of us, and they're pretty cool. They're pretty killer songs that we've been creating. And we're just lucky right now. I wouldn't have changed one thing.
Yeah, I tell you, for at this point in our career, for a death metal album to hit number 2 on the Billboard charts, beaten out by Taylor Swift, I'd like to freaking roughen. It's pretty cool to hear. I mean, granted, people don't sell records like they used to, but it's still a cool thing that you can say, at this point in our career, a death metal album went to number 2 on the Billboard charts. It doesn't happen. That's just crazy. So it's
that
cool.
must be the highest charting death metal album ever. I can't imagine mine the number one.
I couldn't imagine it being number one either, but hey, who knows? But
timing is everything, man. We got lucky. No one else apparently put an album out that week. And then goddamn Taylor Swift.
Oh, well, yeah. I think she beat Michael Jackson at this bloody point with how much she sells. So.
Yeah, she's beating everybody.
Everybody.
I'll make this my final question for you guys. Thanks very much for your time. But when's the books coming out, guys? Both of you you deserve to have an autobiography out there.
Oh, God, no time soon.
Yeah,
we just Obituary.
Yeah, we did the Turned Inside Out, and that kind of really did cover a lot. We spent a lot of time with David, each one of us individually going through a lot. I thought David did a pretty good job putting that book together. And it gets you a pretty good insight. But with a career this long, you could probably go back and start over again and come up with a whole nother book of stuff that didn't get put in there.
Yeah, and if we were both going to have an autobiography, mine would be Donald's keys of how to scoop a proper litter box, and John's would probably be the proper way to scream at your TV while watching the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I can relate on both accounts, especially with the football team. Then my team, the Tigers, rugby league side, by the way, are bloody useless. Don't worry, it's
right on.
Thanks very much, gents. It's been an honour to talk to you. I really appreciate it. As I said up top, I've been such a huge fan of the group for such a long time. It's a soundtrack to my life. I'm sure you hear this often enough, but to be able to share that with you is quite meaningful. So thank you.
No, dude, that's awesome. And we thank you for taking your time. If you come out to any of the shows, hit us up, man. Love to just meet up with you and have a cool one after the show or beforehand or something like that. Great to do that. By all means, just reach out to us.
Yeah, right on, Andrew. Good talking to you, dude.
Thanks very much, guys. All right, safe travel. See you down here.
Yep.
Cheers.
Catch you guys.
Later.
Bye. You don't have chats like that every day, I can assure you. Donald and John Tardy, ladies and gents, the legends that have been keeping the Obituary flame alive alongside their compadre, Trevor Perez, for many, many years, decades at this point, and what a pleasure to talk to. Wow, this is why I love this podcast so much. The opportunity to talk to people like John and Donald. Magnificent. All right, there are plenty more conversations over at scarsandguitars.com if you like Cradle of Filth, or if you're just intrigued even slightly. I've had conversations with many of the group's ex-members, and they've certainly spilt the beans, so to speak. So dive into that there. There's a little tab there titled Cradle of Filth Conversations, but otherwise chats with many of the musicians that have been part of the extreme metal scene for a very long time now. They're luminaries. I'm talking about Ralph Santolla, who we spoke about in that chat there, as well as Trevor Perez. I've even spoken to Trey from Morbid Angel's mother, because of course a conversation with Trey, it's not just rare, it's virtually impossible these days. I've even written about it, that chat with Trey's mum, in my book Scars and Guitars, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond, Volume 1. Click the link in the banner on my website and you'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice, and you know what to do from there. There's some more information to share with you about the book in the moment, but before we get to that, I'll bid you a farewell. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of this show, Scars and Guitars. Until next time, it's a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Cold Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Cold Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.